Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so pumped you're here because today we're looking into what is hands down the most exciting, mind blowing superpower on Earth. And the best part? It's not from a comic book. It is happening literally right outside your window every single day. We're going to uncover a real life, microscopic superpower that keeps our entire world running. It's basically a secret factory hidden in plain sight, and it is totally going to change the way you look at a simple green leaf. So let's dive right in. Think about it for a second. When you or I get hungry, what do? We grab a snack, right? Maybe an apple or a sandwich. We have mouths to eat and stomachs to digest. But what about plants? Have you ever seen an oak tree scarfing down a hamburger or a daisy snacking on a slice of pizza? No way. Plants don't have mouths, they don't have stomachs, yet they grow massive, sometimes hundreds of feet tall, and they are just teeming with life and energy. So how on earth do plants get their food without eating? That mystery is exactly what we're solving today.
All right, Chapter 1, Nature's Ultimate Superpower. This superpower is essentially a silent, microscopic factory. There's no buzzing machinery, you can't see any smoke from its chimneys, but it works tirelessly from sunrise to sunset. It's a biological process called photosynthesis. The word itself is kind of like a magic spell, right? Photo means light, and synthesis means putting things together. So photosynthesis literally means putting things together using light. Plants, algae, and even some tiny bacteria use the bright energy from sunlight to just magically create their very own food. They are literally pulling energy right out of the sky to build themselves up. And it's not just a neat trick. Converting light energy into chemical energy is the main engine that drives almost all life on our planet. Moving on to Chapter 2. The magic recipe. You know, every great factory, and every great baker for that matter, needs a recipe. And this superpowered factory has a magic recipe that is surprisingly simple, but incredibly powerful. So the crucial point is that this recipe requires exactly 3 ingredients to go into the plant. Step 1 is sunlight. Think of the sun as a giant battery that powers the whole operation. Step 2 is water, good old H2O, which the plant drinks up from the soil using its roots. And step 3 is carbon dioxide, or CO2. This is an invisible gas in the air, and it's actually the exact same gas we breathe out. The plant pulls this right out of the air around it. Sun, water, carbon dioxide. Boom, that's the whole shebang.
But what actually comes out of this factory? Well, when the plant mixes those 3 ingredients using its light-powered machinery, it produces 2 amazing things. First, carbohydrates. That's basically a yummy, energy-packed sugar for the plant to use as food so it can grow big and strong. And the second thing? Oxygen. The plant actually releases fresh oxygen as a leftover byproduct. Let that sink in for a second. Every single breath of fresh air you and I take is directly tied to this amazing factory process happening inside leaves. We literally owe them our breath.
And this brilliantly illustrates what it looks like on the inside. It's basically a crazy, complicated factory line. In areas called photosystems 1 and 2, sunlight hits, water splits, and electrons start bouncing around like tiny pinballs. It is a high-tech assembly line perfectly engineered by nature to extract energy and build those yummy sugars. But where exactly is this factory line located? Well, it's housed inside special little buildings called chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are tiny, microscopic structures inside the plant cells. You can think of them as the actual solar-powered factory floors. They are packed with a special pigment called chlorophyll, which acts just like a solar panel to catch the sunlight. And fun fact for you, chlorophyll is exactly what makes leaves look green to our eyes.
All right, let's jump to Chapter 3, Beyond Just Plants. When we hear the word photosynthesis, we instantly picture green trees, grass, maybe a houseplant. But guess what? Land plants are absolutely not the only ones with this magic power. Nature has shared this secret factory with some pretty surprising creatures. Let's compare. We have our regular plant photosynthesis, which is called oxygenic because, as we just learned, it makes and releases oxygen. But there are also ancient microscopic organisms like purple bacteria and green sulfur bacteria. They perform bacterial photosynthesis, which works a little differently. Their process is called anoxygenic. Now that's a big science word, but it simply means it does not make oxygen. They still use light to make food, but they use different chemical ingredients, so oxygen doesn't come out the other side. It really shows just how clever and adaptable nature's recipes can be.
And then we have the true unsung heroes of the ocean, phytoplankton.
Phytoplankton are microscopic, single-celled drifting organisms. Imagine millions and millions of tiny floating factories living in the top layer of the ocean, called the sunlit zone, where the sun's rays can reach them. They literally form the base of the entire marine food chain. Without them, there would be no fish, no dolphins, no whales. Nothing. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this massive, awe-inspiring statistic: 50%. Yep, these microscopic, drifting ocean factories generate roughly half of our entire atmosphere's oxygen. To put that into perspective, every second breath you take was manufactured not by a tree on land, but by invisible phytoplankton floating out in the sea. They produce as much oxygen every year as all the land plants combined. Tiny, but absolutely mighty.
Let's check out Chapter 4, Desert Survival Tricks.
So, a factory is great when you have all the supplies you need, right? But what happens when things get really tough? Think about a scorching hot, totally dry desert. We know the magic recipe absolutely needs water. So how do plants keep their factories running when water is incredibly scarce and the sun is just beating down on them? I mean, if a regular plant opens its pores to take in carbon dioxide, all its precious water will just evaporate straight into the hot air. Well, nature came up with some brilliant survival tricks to fix this. Enter the C4 and CAM plants. C4 plants, things like corn and sugarcane, act kind of like multi-stage workers. They actually have a special, separate room in their factory just for collecting carbon dioxide super fast so they can keep their pores closed more often in the hot weather. And then we have the CAM plants, like cacti and succulents. These guys are the night shift workers. To save water in extreme deserts, they keep their factory doors completely locked down during the hot day. Instead, they open up at night when it's cool to collect all their carbon dioxide, store it up, and then wait for the sun to rise to finish making their food. It is an incredible adaptation to make sure the factory never, ever shuts down. Which brings us to our final chapter, Chapter 5, The Artificial Leaf. Humans have been studying this superpower for a really long time, and now human engineering is actually trying to copy it. Seriously, scientists are literally trying to build devices that perfectly mimic a plant's magic recipe. As researchers put it, an artificial leaf replicates photosynthesis by using catalysts and sunlight to convert carbon dioxide and water into chemical fuels. Instead of a biological leaf growing on a tree, imagine a standalone piece of technology that does the exact same job, taking what's in the air and using the sun to make something incredibly useful. Let's move to the next point and see how this builds. You might be asking, why go to all this trouble to build an artificial leaf? Well, because nature's factories pull in and fix over 100 billion tons of carbon dioxide every single year. That's a mind-boggling number. By studying and copying this massive natural carbon-fixing system, we could actually help manage the carbon dioxide in our own changing global climate. We could let nature be our guide to cleaning the air. And check this out. The artificial leaf uses the exact same ingredients: sunlight, water, and CO2. But here is the amazing twist. Instead of producing sugar as a food, scientists have tweaked the artificial factory to output a liquid fuel called methanol. We're taking the plant's secret recipe, and instead of making a yummy snack, we're making clean liquid fuel that we might one day use to power our cars and our cities. A real game changer. From a tiny green chloroplast in a leaf, to ocean phytoplankton giving us half our breath, all the way to high-tech artificial leaves creating clean fuel. Nature has spent billions of years perfecting its secret factory. Which leaves us with one incredibly exciting question to think about. If we can build artificial leaves by learning from plants, what other amazing superpowers hidden in nature could we copy to help save our planet? Keep observing, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.